Listen, I know you've been through it. I know you've had people betray you. I know you've had folks talk about you behind your back, leave you when you needed them most, and hurt you in ways you never saw coming. And it wasn't just strangers. It was family. It was friends. It was people you trusted with your whole heart. And when it happened, you looked up to heaven and asked, why, God? Why would you let them do me like this? But I came here today to tell you something that's going to shift your whole mindset. God wanted them to hurt you. Now, I know that don't sound good at first. It don't feel good. But let me tell you why. Because if they didn't hurt you, you wouldn't have moved. See, some of y'all would have stayed in places you had no business being in. You would have kept pouring into people who never poured back into you. You would have kept settling for less than what God had planned for you. So he had to allow some pain to push you into your purpose. That heartbreak, that betrayal, that disappointment, it wasn't to break you, it was to bless you. Every setback was a setup. Every rejection was a redirection. Every tear you cried was watering the seed of something greater. And now look at you. You survived what was meant to destroy you. You're still standing. You're still here. And let me tell you something. The same people who tried to bury you are going to have to watch you bloom. So stop asking God why they did you wrong. Stop wasting time being bitter about who left. Let them go. They had to go so you could grow. And the next time somebody tries to tear you down, just smile and say, I see what God is doing. He's making room for something better. Because he didn't let them hurt you to destroy you. He let them hurt you to elevate you. Pain is one of the most powerful forces in life. It has the ability to break a person or build them into something greater. It can make you feel like everything is falling apart, but in reality, it is often the very thing that sets you on the right path. When we experience pain, we tend to ask why. Why did this happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? Why did God allow this hurt? But what we fail to see in the moment is that pain is not just a wound, it is a tool. Pain is not there just to make you suffer. It is there to push you into something greater. It is there to shift you, to mold you, to position you exactly where you need to be. Without it, most of us would stay stuck in places we were never meant to remain. Think about it. If everything in your life had always been smooth, would you have ever moved? Would you have ever grown? Would you have ever discovered what you were truly capable of? See, comfort can be a trap. When things are too easy, we settle. We get complacent. We get used to mediocrity because there is no urgency to change. But pain is a disruptor. Pain shakes you awake. Pain makes you question everything and forces you to look at your situation differently. It forces you to evaluate what is really serving you and what is holding you back. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in life come right after the deepest hurt. That relationship that ended and left you heartbroken, that wasn't just to break you. That was to push you into a season of self-discovery where you learned how to love yourself, how to stand on your own, how to see your own worth. That job that let you go and made you feel like you lost everything, that wasn't to destroy you. That was to push you into your real purpose, into that dream you kept ignoring, into that business idea you were too afraid to chase. The problem is we don't recognize it at first. All we see is the pain. All we feel is the betrayal, the disappointment, the loss. And in that moment, it's hard to believe that this hurt is actually part of something bigger. But if you take a step back, if you really look at your life, you'll start to see a pattern. You'll see moments where you thought everything was falling apart. But in reality, things were falling into place. You'll see times when you thought God was punishing you, but he was really preparing you. Pain does not come into your life by accident. It comes with purpose. It comes with lessons. It comes with transformation. The challenge is most people get stuck in the pain. They let it define them instead of refine them. They sit in their hurt for too long, replaying the past, holding on to the bitterness, refusing to move forward. But pain was never meant to be a place of residence. It was meant to be a passage. You were meant to go through it, not live in it. Some of the most successful, most powerful, most inspiring people in the world have one thing in common. They turned their pain into purpose. They took what broke them and used it to build something greater. They didn't let their suffering be in vain. They didn't let their heartbreak, their losses, their failures define them. Instead, they let it push them towards something better. And you have the same choice. You can either let the pain stop you or you can let it start you. You can either let it make you bitter or you can let it make you better. You can either sit in it or you can rise from it. The power is in your hands. Pain may not feel like a blessing, but it is. It is the fire that refines you. It is the storm that clears the path. It is the push that forces you to become who you were always meant to be. Rejection is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. It cuts deep, leaving wounds that take time to heal. It makes you question your worth, your abilities, and even your purpose. Whether it comes from a relationship, a job, a friendship, or an opportunity you desperately wanted, rejection stings in a way few things do. It makes you feel unwanted, unworthy, and sometimes even invisible. But what most people don't realize is that rejection is not the end of the road. It is not a sign that you aren't good enough. It is not an indication that you have failed. Rejection is simply redirection. It is God's way of closing a door that was never meant for you so he can guide you towards something far greater. The problem is that most people don't see it that way. When they face rejection, they take it personally. They assume that something must be wrong with them. They dwell on what they could have done differently, how they could have been better, what they might have changed to get a different outcome. But the truth is, sometimes rejection has nothing to do with what you did or didn't do. Sometimes it is simply divine intervention. Sometimes God removes things from your life not because you aren't good enough, but because you are too good for where you were trying to go. Think about the times in your life when you wanted something so badly, but it didn't work out. At the time, it felt like a loss. It felt unfair. It felt like life was working against you. But then, later down the road, you realized that the very thing you thought you needed was actually something that would have held you back. That relationship that didn't work out, it wasn't meant to. That job that turned you down, it wasn't your door to walk through. That opportunity that slipped through your fingers, it wasn't part of the plan for your destiny. Rejection doesn't mean stop. It means shift. It means look in another direction. It means trust that if something didn't work out, there's something better ahead. But the challenge is we get so attached to our own plans that we forget God's plan is always bigger. We think we know what's best for us, but we don't see the full picture. We don't see the heartbreak that might have come from that relationship. We don't see the struggles that might have come from that job. We don't see the frustration that might have come from that opportunity. But God does, and that's why he allows certain doors to close, because he knows what's on the other side, and he knows it's not meant for us. There are so many stories of people who faced rejection only to later realize it was the best thing that ever happened to them. Some of the most successful people in the world have stories of being told no, of being turned away, of being denied opportunities they thought were meant for them. But instead of letting rejection stop them, they used it as fuel. They understood that every no was just one step closer to the right yes. They didn't allow rejection to define them, they allowed it to refine them. The way you handle rejection determines your future. If you let it break you, you will never reach your full potential. If you let it discourage you, you will never walk into the opportunities waiting for you. But if you learn to see rejection as redirection, everything changes. Instead of dwelling on what didn't work out, you start looking for what's next. Instead of feeling sorry for yourself, you start preparing for something greater. Instead of questioning your worth, you start trusting that you are being guided towards something far beyond what you imagined. One of the biggest mistakes people make is chasing after things that rejected them. They keep knocking on doors that God already closed. They keep begging for opportunities that weren't meant for them. They keep holding on to relationships that already walked away. And in doing so, they delay their own blessings. They waste time crying over what they lost instead of making room for what's coming. They let rejection make them feel stuck, not realizing that rejection was actually the push they needed to move forward. When you understand that rejection is redirection, you stop seeing it as a failure. You stop taking it personally. You stop letting it make you feel like you aren't good enough. Instead, you start seeing it as protection. You start trusting that if something didn't work out, it wasn't meant to. You start believing that what's ahead is far greater than what was left behind. Because the truth is, every rejection is just another step toward the right path. Every closed door is leading you to an open one. Every disappointment is setting you up for something better. Letting go is one of the hardest things to do. It's not just about walking away. It's about detaching yourself from what you once held dear. It's about releasing people, habits, and situations that no longer serve you, even when your heart wants to hold on. It's about understanding that growth and comfort do not go hand in hand. When you hold on to things that were meant to be temporary, you stunt your own development. You block your own blessings. You slow down the progress that was meant to take you to the next level. Some people were never meant to stay in your life forever. They came into your life to teach you something, to push you towards something, or to show you something about yourself that you would have never realized otherwise. But the mistake many people make is believing that just because someone played a role in their past, they deserve a place in their future. Not everyone is meant to go where you're going. Some people were only assigned to your life for a season. And when that season is over, trying to hold on to them will only bring you pain. It's difficult because we attach memories, emotions, and expectations to people. We assume that just because we invested time into them, they are supposed to be permanent. But sometimes the people you love the most are the very ones holding you back. The people you trust the most are the ones draining you. The people you would do anything for are the ones standing in the way of your growth. And until you recognize that, you will continue to struggle with the same cycles, the same disappointments, and the same frustration. Growth requires separation. It requires elevation. It requires choosing yourself over attachments that no longer serve you. It requires making the tough decision to let go even when you don't have all the answers, even when you don't know what's next, even when it hurts. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of staying in the wrong place lasts a lifetime. The reason some people struggle to grow is that they are afraid of what's on the other side of letting go. They are afraid of being alone. They are afraid of starting over. They are afraid of stepping into the unknown. But holding on to something that is breaking you is far worse than the fear of what's ahead. Letting go is not about losing. It's about making space. It's about making room for something better. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of things that no longer belong in your life. Some people are afraid to let go because they feel guilty. They feel responsible for the people in their lives. They feel like they owe them their loyalty, their time, their energy. But loyalty should never come at the expense of your own well-being. If being loyal to someone means constantly betraying yourself, that is not loyalty. That is self-destruction. You cannot save people who refuse to save themselves. You cannot carry people who are weighing you down. You cannot grow if you are surrounded by people who are comfortable staying the same. Letting go is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-love. It is recognizing that your peace is more important than your attachments. It is choosing to walk away from things that disturb your spirit. It is understanding that you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, support you, and push you toward greatness. If someone is constantly bringing you down, making you doubt yourself, or draining your energy, they are not meant to be in your life. If someone constantly takes from you but never pours back into you, they are not meant to stay. If someone does not respect your growth, your boundaries, or your dreams, they are not meant to go where you are going. Letting go is not easy. It will hurt. It will make you question yourself. It will make you wonder if you made the right choice. But deep down, you already know the answer. You already know who and what is no longer good for you. You already know what is holding you back. You already know what you need to release. The only question is whether you are willing to take that step. The longer you hold on to something that no longer serves you, the longer you delay what is meant for you. The longer you stay in places that no longer fit, the more you will struggle. The longer you hold on to people who were meant to leave, the more pain you will endure. Growth cannot happen in spaces that are too small for you. It cannot happen in relationships that do not challenge or support you. It cannot happen if you are unwilling to make room for it. Some people will not understand your decision to let go, and that's okay. Some people will try to make you feel guilty, and that's okay. Some people will not support your growth because it makes them uncomfortable, and that's okay. You are not responsible for making other people comfortable at the expense of your own happiness. You are not responsible for carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours. You are not responsible for staying small just to make others feel secure. Letting go is about trusting that what's ahead is better than what you're leaving behind. It's about believing that your future is worth more than your past. It's about walking away from things that no longer align with your purpose. It's about stepping into the next chapter of your life without fear, without regret, and without hesitation.